What's up, everybody? It's Clone here, and today we're going to be doing a draft analysis video for my draft in DPL Season 7. Uh, More about me, I'm the coach of the Honolulu Horses, and I'm probably going to be the only coach uploading this league onto YouTube, but if you guys are interested, I could put the doc in the description. I probably will, but I picked pretty late in the draft, second to last, I believe, and I was able to, for my first pick, get a mon that I think is one of the best in draft league format. Yes, Landris, and this thing is my Z crystal user as well, so I can use like Supersonic Sky Strike or um, all these coverage moves that it gets. I can potentially use Z moves to help me guarantee kills and stuff that it normally doesn't kill. And this, like, everyone knows that this mon gets so much useful moves, and like you can run this scarf, you can run it defensive, you can run like toxic protect on it, you can run like um uh you can run like, what is it called, supersonic sky strike, you can run it special even. And this mon is like really what I wanted to base my entire draft around, seeing as it went so late. And that's the first mon that I drafted, and like this thing gets so many useful moves like explosion. Like a normal, I think normal gem is banned, but like explosion, like extra sensory. It gets like stuff like grass nut, like the special, like this mon I'm gonna bring special more than once this season, and I expected to put in a lot of work. Like you can, I mean, I've never done it, but you can bring like life orb on this is pretty good. The only bad thing is the 4 times weakness to ice, but it's not the worst because you can run like Yachi Berry, but it also doesn't get like reliable recovery, but that's fine. Like it gets like stone, it even gets like Smackdown Earthquake, which I can use some weeks against like a Skarmory or like a Celesteela. But yeah, this mon is like, I'm surprised it went as late as it did, and I was luckily able to grab it. And my second mon, I wasn't 100% sure on what to take, but I decided to grab this Mega mainly because I thought it worked well with Landorus. And if this Mega's biggest problem is, of course, that like it's weak to ground, and what helps that, like a Pokemon that not only is immune to ground, but it can fire off Intimidates on Pokemon that usually have ground rock coverage, which is usually what Venusaur struggles with. Not really the rock coverage, but like that's usually what ground types have. And I thought like this mon, I've never like been a huge fan of the Mega Venusaur, but I think in as you'll see with my next couple of picks, it works really well with what I drafted so far, well, what I have drafted. And this mon is just really bulky, and like base 80 HP, has 123 defense, 120 SPDF, is thick fact, like it's just really bulky, and this core together with the next couple of mons that I draft is just really strong. And like this mon like, gets so many good moves. Like Venusaur gets like knockoff, earthquake. I can run HP like HP fire if I wanted to. It's like bait and steals. Although my fire type does deal with steals, I can run like leaf storm to catch people off guard if all of a sudden I just do a crap ton of damage. And like it's not really limited to just being a bulky mon. Like you can run roar in it to get rid of phasers. It gets reliable recovery, which is something that Lander struggles with. So I do have a mon with reliable recovery. It's one of the few mons I drafted that have like really reliable recovery that it can run almost every week. What else does it get? It gets like it doesn't get T spikes, but it does get pretty much every. It gets like toxic spike. I'm not sure if it gets this. No, it doesn't get stun spore, but that would have been. I don't think I would have ran it even if it got it, but it gets like it's just a really bulky mon, and with what I have picked like for my next couple of picks, it just synergized really well with there. And like there's a infamous like a little bit of infamous core in Mega Venusaur and this mon right here. Um, I'm not sure if I picked this before my next pick, but I was talking to the person who had the last pick, and he discussed that he wasn't gonna pick it. So I'm not 100% sure because it was essentially like I had a wheel pick the entire draft because me and Delta talked about what he was gonna draft and what I was gonna draft, so we didn't really like. It was essentially like having a wheel pick, but like Rotom Wash and Venusaur, like this core right here, is extremely bulky. Like this, it got defogged this generation. It gets like I'm not gonna run Dark Pulse too often. Maybe against like Debate and bulky psychics and a more offensive if I run like specs or something. But it gets defog. You can get discharge paras. It gets even foul play if you don't want to run Will-O-Wisp. It gets Will-O-Wisp as well. Hex, like Hex is a very useful move with like with a I do get a Toxic Spike later, but like Hex plus Toxic Spikes like just a lot of chip with this mon. It gets decent recovery and pain split. I can run like Rest Chesto Berry on this. I would not be opposed to that. It gets like priority. That's not like the best, but it still gets priority if I'm like against like a Halucha or something, which I don't believe was drafted, but like it could come in hand. It could be useful in certain situations. It gets like yeah, it gets Trick as well. Trick is something I could use if I run like Scarf on this mon. You know, bait in like a bulky grass to try and take the hit, and then I trick my Scarf onto that like I don't know like a Serena. A Serena doesn't really want to use a Scarf, but it could. It wouldn't be the worst. If it has like Synthesis, then it wouldn't appreciate the Scarf. Yeah, it gets T-Wave, Toxic, and Will-O-Wisp. It's like one of the few mons that gets all three of those, and like it also helps with my Venusaur's ground weakness because I get two Pokemon that are essentially Excadrill's not drafted, so I don't have to really worry about Mold Breaker too much. But this mon essentially can help Venusaur um, not just wall a lot of stuff; it can help it sweep later. Because like so far, it's obviously showing that I'm trying to get as bulky as possible and still maintain offensive pressure, which is what I tried to go for in this draft. And my next pick, I'm just checking if I forgot to say. It gets reflect as well. Does it get? I'm pretty sure it gets this. Yeah, it gets dual screens as well. So like dual screens on this thing could be really OP if I use it correctly. Um, yeah, that's it gets obviously it gets Volt Switch and there's a small Voltorn curler that I'm building. So at this point, I wanted to grab this mon because it still had not been drafted, and I think it was amazing with my Pokemon. And for my tier 2, I took up Arcanine here. Now Arcanine, it pretty much fits what I was going with my first three picks. It fulfills my Firewater Grass core. You know, this Firewater Grass core is pretty scary. It gives me another Pokemon that's weak to ground, but I still do have these two ground immunities that I have, and Venusaur's not terrible against ground if I build it correctly to take like earthquakes and stuff. But Arcanine is a mon that you can run offensively, defensively. It gets Will-O-Wisp just like Rotom. You can run like agility on it. That like people never expect agility on this. It gets Wild Charge. Pretty sure, yeah, Wild Charge. You can run Toxic on it as well. It's a pretty good set. It gets Roar. It's another phaser to go with Venusaur. I do get a lot of phasers, and it gives me priority. It gives me like a really strong bulky mon, and like this mon has a lot of bulk, like 80 defense, 80 speed F, 9 HP. Now that's no Mega Venusaur, obviously, but fire is pretty good defensive typing. Like it's not weak too much. Like obviously like water, but you don't really want Arcanine taking special hits anyways. And water coverage isn't like it's either you're a water type or you're not a water type when it comes to water coverage most of the time. Like and HP water isn't something that you want to run when you'd rather run HP ice to hit this or HP psychic to hit this. So like it helps it a lot. And yeah, this mon like is just really nice that I can run this Scarf, I can run this Banded, I can, I mean, it has decent special attack. Like 100 is no slouch. So like I could be Scarf and go for Fire Blast, and they're not gonna expect this. So like, although it and like maybe with interesting hidden power, I could catch a lot of stuff catch a lot of stuff off guard. It gets Iron Head too, which is a nice move to hit fairies that usually a bulky fairy would be able to wall Arcanine in a sense, even though Arcanine does resist most fairy moves. It gets Dragon Pulse as well, so yeah, that's good. Going along with the special side, it gets Crunch. Like its coverage is just really good, and like there's not much downside to it. It gets reliable recovery as well, so like I have more reliable recovery, and I just wanted to build on that so that I wasn't taking hits and not being able to like, because I do have a lot of bulk, but I also want to have bulk with recovery, and I end up not drafting a Wishpasser, but I think with what I have so far, it won't be a problem. And if it is a problem, I have a couple mons that I can trade for a better Wishpasser because there's a lot of Wishpassers still remaining. But yeah, this mon is like it gets does it get light screen? It does not get light screen, but it gets reflect, so more screens, and it just has really good coverage. Like yeah, it just gets really good coverage. And as the next mon that I drafted, trying to remember here, is this mon right here called Scissor, and Scissor fulfills a crucial part of my steal, and this is normal Scissor of course, but this mon just hits hard, and I have more priority. Like with Arcanine, this thing so much priority right here, like so much priority. Like Bullet Punch, E-Speed, I end up drafting. Now the main problem with Scissors is weak to HP Fire, obviously. Now, are they possibly going to run HP Fire, HP Psychic, and HP Ice? No, they can't. So I don't think it's a huge problem, as they're going to be forced to run a different HP. Because I don't think Scissor is. I'm not using it. I don't plan on using it as my huge bulk, because it's not. It doesn't have the best bulk. Like its defense is pretty good. HP is okay. Spadef is okay, but I'm not gonna like switch into like a Hydro Pump from a Starmie, stuff like that on my Scissor when I have so much bulk already. And because my team is pretty slow, that could be a problem. But this thing with Bullet Punch, it kind of counteracts that problem because it always be priority, and E-Speed will always go first. That's a nice thing about E-Speed. And this mon, along with the Fairy and the Dragon I'll draft, will form like a nice offensive core, while my Fire, Water, Grass core will form a nice defensive core. And that's kind of what I was intending to do. And it gets defog as well, so I get more hazard removal. I have defog on Lando. I can have a T-Spike Absorber. I have defog on this mon. So my Rock's weakness with Arcanine is kind of covered, considering that pretty much so far my entire team is not really weak to Rocks, aside from Arcanine, and this mon gets defog as well. This mon gets defog, this mon gets defog. So it's going to be really easy for me to fit hazard removal onto my team, and that's important. Now this guy, like this mon, like Technician is such an amazing ability with like the coverage that it gets. Like knockoff, I can just knock off items. I can do a baton pass. I can do like Sorzan sets if I want to be more bulky and beat like if I use this as a wall breaker potentially. What else does this get? It gets recovery and roost. It was a more reliable recovery. This is important. It's a pursuit trapper, and if I'm going against a lot of those offensive psychic types or bulky psychic types, and if they're not running HP Fire, they're almost always going to switch on a potential U-turn, because U-turn from this thing does a lot. And if I catch that switch, I can pursue them and either kill them or do a lot of damage, and that's really nice to have on my team, because the dark type that I eventually draft is not the best pursuit trapper. So that's a nice to have. And yeah, I guess like fighting, the fact that it gets firing coverage helps it deal with other steals, and you know like fire types, fire steel and Heatran would not be able to like switch in this stuff like that. Um, it's pretty much it. Yeah, it gets does it get reflect? It doesn't get reflect, but it gets light screen, and it can break other screens, which is also important in brick break. I wanted to be able to get a mon that does that. I'm not sure if Lando does that. Lando does do it, but I don't think Lando can fit it onto its move slots. But I like this thing. I could surprise people with a special, like Bug Buzz. Like if I wanted to be like a swarm set possibly, and kind of bait those HP fires with like a sash or something, and just like hit them up with like a air slash or something. Like I have a lot of like scissors and mon where if you prep with it properly, it's gonna be really annoying, and that's what I'm gonna be trying to do with this. This is my first mon that is kind of benefiting from a lot of this bulk because Scissor doesn't OHKO anything. Like you're never gonna see Scissor one shot much anything that resists it or even is neutral to it. But Bullet Punch does a lot and it's priority. So good luck trying to stop this mon if half your team is at 50, because there's worn down by this core I have right here. And so my next mon, I was debating on what to get for a very long time here, and I'm not sure if it's a because I wanted to get Florges, but Florges was taken very early in the draft. But that wasn't the worst for me, as I was able to get, um, I think, a better fairy for what this team is trying to do, and I think this Mon is extremely underrated actually because this thing it gives me a spin blocker, so I don't I have hazards here, but I do get a spikes, NT spikes later. But it gives me a potential to spin block, and it gives me my fairy like I want. It gives me a fighting immunity as well. Sorry. But Mimikyu is my second Z user, and aside from the snuggling that this thing can do, I can see it doing a lot with my team. And now it gets like Destiny Bond. I can like bulk up or Z bulk up as well. Can be really interesting if I because this thing's bulk is respectable. Like it's not like this thing's gonna fall over. As small as it looks, this thing's not gonna fall over to many things, especially because of disguise. So I can try to punch that. But an interesting thing that it gets, which I think I can use exceptionally well this season, is Trick Room. And my team, as you can see, is not very fast so far. Uh, like base 91, base 80, base 86, base 95, base 65, base 96. So it's all around that 80, 90 area, which is pretty average. So my team, oh, and also I get more priority. So my last 3 picks, more priority, and that's really nice to have. But this, like, I was looking at the remaining fairies, and this was probably one of the best fairies to grab. It was in the B tier, but I think it was still worth it because Ghost Stab is pretty strong to have. I guess it even gets like stuff like Taunt, T-Wave. It's another one of those mons that get all 3 statuses. I believe. Yeah, I think it gets all 3. I can even do like trick sets if I want. You know, try to bait at bulkier mons to try to wanna beat this mon. Like the nice thing is I was debating on drafting more Trick Room mons, but I think I can settle with just Mimikyu because it makes it it's like it's a mon where if I use a Trick Room set or a bulk up set or one of those sets that aren't that common on Mimikyu, it can really punish an opponent. And if I don't bring it and they prep for it, it can also punish them because it's one of those mons where if you prep for it and they bring that set, it's not gonna do as much. But if you don't prep for it and I bring like an off meta set that is designed to like let's say against like a Mega Lopunny, for example, I bring it in on like a weakened Mon, and the guy's Mega Lopunny, and he switches into Mega Lopunny to try and predict my like Shadow Sneak. I go for Trick Room, and I'm faster than a Mega Lopunny now. I can go for like um, Z Play Rough and just snuggle that Mega Lopunny into death, or like I can go for Destiny Bond and like I can go for like a lot of stuff. Like this Mon helps my speed problem in a way that doesn't actually give me more speed. But I thought that this Mon for for one of their remaining fairies, I thought it was very valuable because Aromatisse was a Mon that I could have drafted as well in this slot, but I felt like I needed more offensive pressure, and I wanted to build a Dragon Fairy Steel Core that could pressure my opponent. And I thought a Mimikyu fulfilled that role extremely well. Like it gets dual screens, it gets like Drain Punch. So like that bulk up Drain Punch set could be very scary late game if most of the Mons are defensive physical Mons. And the fact that it's just its stab is like really hard to prepare for. Like not much resists Ghost Fairy. Especially Ghost. Ghost is such good typing. It's not the best special attacker, so I'm probably not gonna run like a different. Probably not gonna run like Psychic. I think it learns. Yeah, I'm not probably not gonna run like those types of sets, but I could. You know, it's always about catching your opponent off guard. I think your team is always something that you draft with a specific goal in mind, but it's all essentially about the prep. And if you can catch your opponent off guard and your team is well drafted, you're almost always gonna win, I think. So for my next Mon, the dark types are running out, I'll admit, and I was not 100% sure on what to draft for my next Mon. So I decided to go a little bit lower in the tiers and grab this Persian, Alola, of course, Alola. And I think Persian's actually, like, like, this thing loved my draft. Like, Z Parting Shot into Mimikyu could be really good. Z Parting Shot into Scissor could be really good. Z Parting Shot even into, like, Arcanine if they're a physical Mon. Like, that Mon's doing no damage to Arcanine. My Arcanine could essentially agility up. Do you get Swords Dance, my friend? No, he doesn't get Swords Dance, but, like, 110, like, this thing Adamant, Flare Blitz, or even E-Speed does a lot. Like, don't knock Arcanine. So, this one, I think, I wasn't 100% sure what to take here, because I still had a D pick, I believe. And I feel like this Mon, I know I'm saying this Mon a lot, but Persian, like, it's just really nice with my team. It gives me another Technician, Fake Out, with Fake Out, so I could run that. I don't have to run for a coat. It gets like a lot of things that you wouldn't expect it to get, like Gong Shot. You don't really expect Gong Shot coming from this thing. It gets like Hyper Voice, Knock. I guess Knock. I don't think a lot of people know that this thing gets Knock, but it does. So it's essentially a lot like Scissor, but it's different from Scissor. You know, it gets like Nasty Plot. It's not like, I know Leopard is a better Nasty Plot user than Persian, but Leopard is a tier D and this is a tier E. So this is my lowest tier pick, basically. And I didn't think this would go undrafted for much longer, so I really wanted to pick this up. And because the next couple of months that I planned on getting, I thought, I don't think people are necessarily going to draft them, but this Mon, I think a good dark type, that like this thing's speed is amazing. It's very similar to what Croat does, where you can just run speed and outspeed pretty much everything, and then put the rest into bulk. And that makes it really scary because not only is it bulky, but it's hella fast. So a lot of these Mons, they're bulky, but you'll outspeed almost all of them. But when it comes to Persian, like, and another nice thing, but when it comes to Persian, it outspeeds you, so it just sets its Parting Shot off and goes into a bulky Mon. So that bulky Mon not only is bulky, but it also is benefiting from the Parting Shot Now, this Mon is not my Z user, so I don't have the opportunity to use Z parting shot. That would have been cool, but I feel like Mimikyu benefits a lot more from my second Z crystal than Persian does. I'll admit, I don't plan on bringing this every week in the same way that I plan bringing Mimikyu often. So, but like this thing gets switcheroo even. Like I could do some switcheroo shenanigans, like flame orb switcheroo stuff like that. Like he gets taunt. Taunt is like Mimikyu gets taunt, but taunt on this mon on a fast mon is very useful. Cause like if I'm going up against like a fast rocker, I can just taunt that thing, and it's not gonna be a problem. I guess U-turn as well. So if I wanna do damage instead, it's another phaser, which is nice. You can never have too many phasers. And I draft another one, I believe, but yeah, it gets play rough as well. So it doesn't. So if you're trying to go into your dark type because you think it walls this, it doesn't, because this thing is play rough. And like if you look at its attack, it's not the best, but it can 2-hit KO stuff with proper preparation. So my next mon, I wasn't 100% sure what to take here, but I was just looking through all the E's, looking through all of them, and I needed a dragon, and this dragon, I wasn't originally thinking of drafting this dragon. I was looking at Dragalge, but I wasn't completely in love with drafting Dragalge, just because I think it's pretty frail for what I want to accomplish. So I ended up drafting not Dragalge, Druddigon. It's hard to pronounce this, the guy, but this mon, it's a beast, and it has 3 amazing abilities. Like these 3 abilities are probably top 10. All 3 of these abilities are probably top 10, and like Mold Breaker, good luck with that Magic Bounce mon, because I'm setting up Stealth Rocks anyways. Good luck with that that Rotom Heat. I'm Earthquaking it, and like Rough Skin Rocky Helmet, like this thing is a counter to stuff. It gets even Sheer Force as well, so I can even make this my sweeper. Now, it doesn't have my speed problem, and I still have a speed problem, and I don't really fix that speed problem, but I have a lot of mons that can be Scarfers, and I have a lot of priority. Now, this mon, Drud, is, like, it's just really good for its price. Like, it has a really respectable attack. Like, 120 is nothing to slouch at. It's not like you can just switch anything into this thing, because it gets amazing coverage, like Aqua Tail Crunch. You can run special with Draco. It gets Dragon Tail, another phaser. It gets rocks as well. It has EQ, Fire Fang, fire coverage, fighting coverage, poison coverage. It gets glare. You can para stuff, and like you don't really have to fear anything in return. You can set up with Horn Claws. It gets Power Punch as well. It gets, like, it's also I forgot to mention this. It's also another Pursuit Trapper, and my Dark type doesn't really fulfill the role of a Pursuit Trapper, but Scissor and Druddigon, they both do, and they're both really good at it. So I can 100% use this mon, because it's really strong, like, and it's really bulky as well. Like 90 defense and 90 speed def is pretty good with Dragon typing. Like it resists a lot. Like I'm not gonna keep this in on ice types, obviously, but it's just a nice mon for what I had planned. It gives me another rocker as well. I don't think I had another rocker outside of Landorus. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a good mon. And I thought for tier E, it was undrafted yet. I knew it really needed a dragon that had offensive presence, and Druddigon fulfilled that, essentially. It gets priority as well, so I have a lot of priority, if you can't tell. And so that's kind of my way with dealing with the speed problem, is drafting a lot of priority. But it's not the best solution, obviously, but, you know, this mon is really good for where it was drafted. Obviously, it's not the high round dragon Garchomp that you generally want, but in a lot of ways, it's as valuable as the guard jump, because like these abilities are amazing, and I can use this. I think I can use this mon to help not only just poke holes for my scissor and mimikyu, but just to help me sweep late game. And it's a mon that doesn't get recovery, but I don't think that's a problem because my entire draft has that problem. I'm just gonna have to be careful when using it. But I think I can fulfill those holes that it has and make it achieve its true potential. But my next mon, so at this point, I was looking at sweepers, and I thought, you know, this mon, Mienshao, I just drafted Dridagon, great mon, great abilities. Why not draft another mon, great abilities? And Regenerator is amazing with what I have here. This mon gives me some speed. It's not the fastest mon ever, but it also helps, like, it gives me more speed tiers, so it, what's the word? Discourages people from running Modest or Adamant, because this mon is sitting at a nice speed tier, where it outspeed them if they try to do that. And, you know, this mon, it doesn't do anything crazy, necessarily, but the fact that it has Reckless is, I think, what, not Reckless, Regenerators, I think what sold it for me, because I can use Reckless, and I probably will use Reckless, but the fact that it's Regenerator too, with my bulky team, it felt good to draft this mon, I think. I think it fulfilled the slot that it needed to. I didn't have a fighting type. Its strong fighting stab is always nice. It's a really good Scarfer to use. It's a really good sweeper late game for me to use if I don't want to use Mimikyu, Scissor. And I felt like, as a tier C, this thing was pretty good with my draft. Because the Regenerator, if I can switch into stuff potentially, force it out, and then hit that mon, or switch out again. Because, like, this thing's bulk is actually not that bad. Like, 60's not amazing, but it's not that bad. This thing can take some special hits that I want it to potentially take. I can run, like, maybe even, like, Assault Vest on this mon. As crazy as that sounds, I could run Assault Vest on this, and run, like, because, like, it's pretty fast. It's fast enough that if I run, like, Assault Vest, no bulk, it can benefit a lot from it. And, like, everybody knows, like, this thing gets, like, a jump kick. It's a really strong fighting stab. And if I use a Regenerator, and I miss, it's not the worst, because I can switch this out. You know, in Megalopony's case, she doesn't really have, like, great recovery, aside from Drain Punch. But Drain Punch isn't always the best recovery. But this thing its ability gives it recovery, so if I potentially miss a high jump kick, due to hacks, or due to the person prepping correctly and using Protect, then it's not the worst, because it scouts for Protect. I can switch this out. I can go for another one, and then I can also keep that noted and switch this out eventually, and it'll be almost at full. It's only 1/3, but it'll be close enough to full. And, like, an Assault Vest on this thing, I think, is actually really good. You get stuff like Fake Out. I can run, like, bulk up sets on this. What else? It gets U-turn, obviously. It's a good U-turn. So my U-turn core is pretty good. And Scissor, Landorus. I know Landorus doesn't show right now, but and, like, Scissor, Landorus, this thing. It gives me a good U-turn core, and Rotom Wash as well. So I have a good Voltorn core as well, and that's something I wanted to get, but I wasn't 100% sure how to get it. I thought that this mon, it just helped that, you know? It just felt right to draft this mon. And as a sweeper, I think it fulfills that role that I really wanted, and that Scissor and Mimikyu couldn't fulfill, and just a fast mon that people have to correctly prep for. Because it gets really good coverage, obviously. It gets Poison Jab, it gets Knock, it gets, like, Stone Edge for, like, Crobat or something. You can run SD on this even. It gets Taunt, U-turn. I thought it got... Let me check. Yeah, it gets Power Up Punch as well. So you can run, like, the classic Lope sets on this thing. I thought it's just a good mon, you know? So my next pick, and I believe last pick, if no, I have two more picks, yeah. So this is my second to last pick, and I drafted another poison type here, and I don't think it was the worst, because I do have a lot of ways to deal with my ground weakness, and my team isn't really weak to ground anymore. It's not even weak to hazards too much. So even though I have so much defog support, but this I just wanted a mon. So it was either this or Quillfish I was looking at, and between the two, I felt like Aftermath is what really sold me on this mon, and the fact that it has a lot more offensive pressure than a Quillfish, obviously. And I didn't want my team to just be bulk that just sat there like what's a good example? Alamalola. Alamalola is not going to threaten you out in any way, shape, or form. Just aside from the fact that you might get scald burned. But with what I intended to do with my draft is I wanted to draft a lot of bulk that could threaten you out, and you didn't want to necessarily stay in and try to set up on my bulk. And I think Quillfish, it would have been a nice meme to have triple intimidate, but I didn't think I necessarily needed it. And if this mon doesn't end up fulfilling the goals that I have for it, I could always trade it for Quillfish. Quillfish did go undrafted, so I could always end up getting Quillfish, but I think I'll be pretty happy with this, because this thing gets so much good coverage. It gets us like acid spray. You can run fighting coverage on it. It gets it gets like strong poison coverage. It's not like no, like it's like no, it's not like poison jab. You know, it gives you like gong shot, which like so if you're like its attack is 95, it's respectable. Its speed is actually not that bad. So if I'm running mid speed on this, it can outspeed. It can outspeed like a lot of slower, bulkier mons. It gets like Giga Drain too, I think. Does it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it gets a lot of. It gets Pain Split even, so you can. It gets semi-reliable recovery. I know Cloverfish gets Pain Split too, but it gets like semi-reliable recovery. It beats other poisons with Psychic. It gets like even the fact that it gets rock coverage is pretty cool, because like a lot of flying types are defoggers, and you try to switch in your flying type on my Garbodor. Guess what? I rock blast them. It gets the main reason I wanted it, of course, is because dual spikes, and I think that's generally what you want out of bulk, is you want to be able to set up dual spikes. Like a Ferrothorn would have been nice as well if I'd been able to draft it, but I felt like Scissor would be better. But like, I think for a tier E, which is I believe the lowest tier, Garbodor fulfills a lot of roles that I want to, because I feel like Persian and Garbodor, which were my tier E's, weren't even that bad for tier E's. Like, I felt both of them could have been up one tier, and I probably might have still drafted both of them. Because I could have, instead of my final pick, I could have drafted two tier D's, I believe, instead of drafting a tier C and a tier E, which was my Garbodor. And my final pick is a tier C, of course, but yeah, I felt like I just really needed dual spikes, so to put pressure and use my bulk correctly. Small voice crack. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I can use my bulk correctly by forcing switches on T-spikes, and that's just a really good way to wear them down, so that my Mienshao, my Scissor, my Mimikyu, they just sweep in the end. And that's what a lot of my goals is, because my final mod is very similar to Mienshao, Scissor, and Mimikyu, but it's a special variant of oh yeah, it gets Clear Smog and Haze as well. It's not my Z user, so I can't use Z Haze obviously, but I'm just checking. If it, menacing, like it gets T-Bolt, it even gets like T-Bolt. Like this thing's coverage is amazing. Anything that I missed? It's Rain Dance potentially could be useful for my Rotom Wash if I'm running like a spec set. Sunny Day could be useful for my Arcanine if I'm running like a Bandit set or something, or a Scarf. But yeah, this thing has a lot of potential, And stench, I don't. Stench is like baby Serene Grace, but I don't potentially see myself using stench and using. But like weak armor is actually interesting with Garbodor. It's something that Clefairy doesn't have. But basically, with weak armor, I can almost always guarantee, because if I run like max speed and then I live a hit, I get double my speed, so I can get up 2 layers of T-spikes or a layer of T-spikes and a spike, and then probably die there because my armor is weak, but or my defense is weak. But I just think that this mon, it fulfills a lot of the roles that I first saw I needed, in a lot of the same ways that Mienshao filled. And I feel like, because I have a mode breaker mon in this, so guaranteed rocks, and I have a spiker and that's really able to put offensive pressure as well. And not many things are gonna just come in on this and just start defogging, because like in draft format, there's only maybe like 2 to 4 defoggers on a team, or defoggers or rapid spinners, so I can potentially adjust its moveset so that it beats those mons, and that's what I foresee myself using it for. So my last mon, just gonna double. What am I doing? Alouetta. This is my last mon. Let me double check. Yep, it is. So this is. I think I mentioned Serene Grace. Serene Grace is amazing. Its ability. It's not like amazing with Meloetta, but like this thing, I really wanted a special attacker that I didn't have, and that a special attacker that was able to use stab that I didn't really have. And this thing is really strong. Like, no matter what you say, this thing is really strong. And it's not only is it strong, but it has really good SPDF. Surprisingly, like Meloetta looks very frail, but she's really SPDF. Like, if I run like enough SPDF, like I can like live 3-hit KOs and stuff that normally a frail Pokemon like Meloetta wouldn't be able to live, or a frail sweeper. Like its speed is not amazing, but it's also not bad. I can run Scarf to fix that, or if I feel like they're not gonna run too much speed, I can run, because I'm using very tanky mons. I can run just like modest and run enough speed. But Meloetta is just a really strong special attacker. Like, this is my draft rare, and if you look at it, like I don't have the best like natural special attackers. Like Landers could be special, but it's not obviously the most ideal special attacker. But like Rotom Wash isn't the most ideal special attacker, because you want it most of the time more bulky. But like I'm just, aside from Mega Venusaur, obviously, I just really needed a special attacker, a strong special attacker. And I could always trade this away, but I felt like, although Pursuit Trapping could be an issue with her, because I do think that's what I foresee being the biggest issue with me using her. So I'm gonna have to bring her in weeks where I feel like it's not gonna be as big as a problem. But I just wanted to be able to get a strong special attacker, because I didn't want my draft to be too physically orientated. So I felt like this kind of fulfilled all those roles, and it gets Heal Bell support as well. That's something like pretty huge that I wanted, Heal Bell support. I'm not 100% sure if I have that on anything else, actually. No, I don't believe so. But I mean, my team isn't too weak to like Toxic Spikes and stuff, and I can use this potentially to Heal Bell. It gets Trick as well. That's cool. I guess Trick Room as well, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna use Trick Room on this as much as I'm gonna use it on like Mimikyu. But like you can run physical even, like Relic Sun. Because I do get access to both, because this 10% chance is actually because of Serene Grace. It's 20% chance, and then I put them to sleep, and then I potentially can start hitting them. Basically, does this get? No, it doesn't get Swords Dance, but it gets like close combat and stuff. Yeah, close combat. It's like I'm not one. I guess like really good. I feel like I can probably bring this 1 week, or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, a physical variant of Meloetta, and 'cause the weeks it's actually only like a 10-week season, I believe. So maybe only twice I'm gonna bring like a fighting variant. But I feel like I could. It gets magic code as well, so you can't just rock on this. But it gets Shadow Bell. It gets like a lot of decent coverage. That in draft league, that's what you want with all your mons is coverage, because with so many limited amount of Pokemon that you have to prepare for, coverage is amazing. And this thing, like 128 is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I could run the specs even. Um, and this thing has specs. It's gonna do a lot to a lot of things. Like it has. It's just what I wanted. It's not 100% sure what I wanted, but I felt like it was the best C tier mon available that fulfilled the role of a special attacker that I didn't have coverage of already. Because like I don't have psychic type, I believe. No, I don't, or normal type. But yeah, I just felt like as a last mon, it filled a lot of holes. It filled a lot of holes, and I can see this is another mon that, in a lot of ways, similar to Mimikyu, where I can build it a lot of different ways, and a lot of win con ways, or a lot of, not necessarily win con, but a lot of niche ways, so that it beats things that normally would be a counter to it. Like, what's a good example? Like, if it's, I'm not sure if this does a lot to Tyranitar, but if I'm like a sub focus punch, I think it learns it. Does it learn it? Yeah, like sub focus punch to something that like a dark type that might try to switch in. That could be really interesting. I just feel like as a last mon, it fulfills my draft. No, a quick look over before I end the video on my draft, and as you see, some of the drafts of, if you want to quickly pause, of the conference I'm in. But a quick look over at my draft, I just really wanted to build bulk that not just was like, I think I'm gonna use the Alamalula example, where Alamalula, although it's really bulky, it's not really the most offensively pressuring mon. But with a lot of the bulk that I've drafted, it can offensively pressure a lot of stuff, because I do have good Roar and Dragon Tail users, but they're not the most reliable sources of Roar and Dragon Tail. And so, and I feel like my Dragon Fairy Steel Core is very good offensively, and all three of them can be even defensive if I want to build them that way. But especially my grass, water, fire, my fire, water, grass core, is actually really strong defensively. Arcanine, Rotom W, and Mega Venusaur are really strong as a core together. And the fact that I was able to snipe, like, as you can see, I picked 7th, and I was able to get Landorus. And Landorus is a really strong mon for its price. Like, I know I drafted a lot of threats, but like Landorus is a huge threat above all of these. That's why it's A. And the fact that I was able to get it as my user as well is really crucial. Now, I do have some flaws, obviously, and I think those flaws aren't the most huge flaws. Like my speed tubes are terrible, or not terrible necessarily, but not the best. But I think if I prep correctly, and I use a lot of those off coverage moves that I was mentioning, that a lot of the Pokemon that I mentioned learn, I can fulfill those roles. So that's gonna be it for the video today. It's a little bit longer than anticipated, but I just really wanted to give like in-depth analysis on why I picked certain mons and why I didn't pick certain mons. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. Every subscribe matters to me, and I will be posting the week 1 matchup. I've not played it yet, but I have my team prepped already, so it should be going up sometime soon. And along with so this is the what's the word? This is the the second of the 2 leagues that I'm currently in, and I'm going to be posting videos on. And we just finished a draft today, so that's why I posted. That's why I was just able to finish this. And I just really wanted to quick do analysis on my draft before I post any week 1 matchups. So, but yeah. So once again, that's just it's. I just wanted to draft to do a quick analysis if you guys are interested in at all in what my my decision behind my picks were. So I believe that's everything, and see you guys in the next video.